Hi, my name is Tiffany Berry, CEO and founder of Life by Expression Coaching and Consulting. Today, we bring to you Stefan Lindsay. Some of you all know him as Showtime. He was the former lead mic of XIB Go-Go Band. And today, he is now the CEO and founder of Dreams in Reach. Now, you're going to see the whole truth, what you did not see from the stage. So welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out to come.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So many people really want to know, like, who are you?
Wow. Well, some people know me as Showtime at birth. Name was given Stefan Lindsay. So either one I'm cool with, man. But to sum it up, I would say I'm a creator. I'm a leader. I'm an innovator. I'm a thinker, man. That's just how I was gifted. That's how I was blessed. And so I try to use that to the best of my ability and whatever I'm doing, man. So that's pretty much who I am.
Okay, great. So from the XIB days, a lot of people have seen you on the stage. They've seen you rock the house. They've seen you bring the people in. You know, everyone's really feeling you. What was that like for you, having all that attention? Like, what was that like?
Wow. Well, if I could answer as though this was still in, it was fun, man. I would say it was fun. I guess since I was young, I kind of always put it in my mind. I said, look, I'm gonna be somebody, and the definition at that time for me, for somebody, was people knowing who I was. And so when I received that, it was like, man, you know, I got what I wanted. Now, granted, you know what I'm saying, if you're not from D.C., Maryland, or Virginia, or other parts, different parts in the world who are familiar with go-go, like North Carolina, Atlanta, probably don't even know about go-go, you know. But to have that love from, you know, fans and supporters locally, you know, being able to walk into the malls and, you know what I'm saying, whether it's pictures, autographs, whatever it was, man, going into the clubs, whatever, and no charge, you felt like you were loved, you know what I mean? And at a young age, you know, when you really don't know what love is, it's kind of like I accept that, you know. So in short, that's what it was like.
Okay. So I want to pick up on something. You said you felt like you were loved. So, I mean, that's really big. I know a lot of times we say, you know, we felt like it was love, but that terminology right there, to me, it tells me that it may not have been love. So what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a good question, man. And that's right, man. I use the word felt purposely because I recognize now, you know, what love really is, man. That, you know, in short, love to me, is unconditional. And what I learned is, at the time, many people didn't really, you know, love me. I guess what I was really looking for back then was acceptance. And because I didn't know what love was, I kind of interpreted that acceptance to be love. But again, with love being unconditional, that would mean that no matter what type of status I have, no matter how many shows I'm packing out, they're still with me. But the reality is, when all of that was gone, I was able to really see, you know, who's really in my corner, who really loves me. Like a lot of the people, you know, and I still got love for them, you know what I mean, if you will. But just if we could be real, you know, I recognize that wasn't really love. It was a trend. It was hot, and so they accepted me, and I appreciate that.
So let's go back to that time when the lights were off, when you were not on the stage. What would you say were like some of those lowest moments in your life?
Lowest moments. Let me see. For me, it was, I would say, one, whenever we were in a season, I guess, where I wasn't getting as much acceptance. You know, we had a situation where we were transitioning management. You know, going from one management into a different season, and it was tough. You know, that was a low moment because, you know, it hit the fan, and at that point, some people weren't really supporting us, and so that was a real low moment for me, because somebody at a young age like myself, who was used to all the attention, you know, and then going through that transition, having to lose it for a little while, it was tough, and it really did bring a low moment. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back and talk about that. So I want to know, how did it feel to you personally? Were there any? I mean, because when we see someone on stage, we're like, oh wow, he has everything. Were there any insecurities, any fears that occurred, or I mean, did Showtime have it all together with that?
Wow. Well, I mean, not just that situation, but you know, there were plenty of other low moments. But you know, if I could just be transparent, because obviously, you know, I didn't have it all together, and that's, you know, that's what some people think. They see different things, but for me, I guess one of the things, you know, as I talking about just going into detail a little bit with those low moments, it was tough. It was tough trying to really interpret who my real friends were versus who wasn't, and so that became frustrating because when I would go through different things, and you know, I mean, sometimes I would just be in my lows because of different things, whether it was, man, we ain't hot right now, whatever. There's certain things I wanted to share with people. Certain people I just felt like, man, I don't know if I can. And it's not like they ever, you know, showed me any signs of whatever. It was just me personally. It was hard to know, you know, who's really with you and who's not. So a lot of that stuff I kept, you know, to myself. Like different insecurities I may have wrestled with. I don't know, even fears. Like, for example, you know, it's not easy being out there with people knowing your name. Some people even knowing where you live at. And so sometimes it'd be to the point where we might pull up somewhere and everybody else would get out the car, but I was like, man, I'm staying in, you know. And sometimes it could be I don't feel like dealing with the attention, but sometimes it was like, man, I don't know, you know, who after me today, you know. And it wasn't easy talking about those type of things because you know, you're taught to be strong, you're taught to be a man, you're taught to just not care, whatever like that. But for me, that all that stuff was new to me, and it was a shock, and it was hard dealing with it. So that was one of those things, man.
So do you think you had a moment where you felt like you did have someone that you could trust, or 9 times out of 10 it felt like you were kind of out there on your own?
Nah. I mean, I would say that there was definitely people, you know, that I thought I could trust. Okay. Don't get me wrong, man. We definitely were a family. It's just sometimes, I guess, those male issues, how we go through stuff and we want to keep everything to ourselves, and then it builds up, and it just gets worse, you know. But yeah.
Great. So could you tell me more about more of those fears and insecurities?
Yeah, most definitely. Something that even comes to mind is just the pressure to be cool. Now I know that sounds crazy because it was like, well, that was the element you were in, but there was a whole lot of pressure, and so, you know, there's pressure to, you know, had the best chains, had the best watch, had the best clothes, had the best shoes, and always got to be on guard, always got to be ready, and that, you know, it was a lot of pressure, and it was tough because sometimes it was cool, I wanted that, but other times, you know, I just want to just chill, you know, and so not have to deal with that, but so I think it was tough, and what happened eventually was I began to cover up, I guess, who I really was, whoever that was, because me naturally, I'm not your thug type, the type that's gonna go out here and I'm out to do this and do that. But what happened is, you know, being on that scene, you know, I felt pressured to articulate myself in such a way to make people think that, oh, I'm this type of dude, or I got this, and really, you know, a lot of it for me was a bluff. You know what I mean? I could do a video one day, perping like I had X, Y, and Z, going home and still asking somebody, hey, can you get me something off the dollar menu? You know what I mean? But to the people, it was like, yo, dude, you had it. You know what I'm saying? But nah, it's like, for a while, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? After a while, you know, money started coming in and so forth and so on. But even still, you know, it wasn't like a job. You know what I mean? So a lot of it was just fake and covering up to trying to portray myself to be something that I wasn't. Again, longing for that attention and anybody who would accept it.
So I know that in the past you used to wear hats all the time. What, you don't have one on today? What's going on with that?
That's funny, man. In my very first interview with XIV on one of our CDs, a guy named Tej, man, shout out to Tej, man. He asked me that same question. It was a question that was a surprise because we kind of knew where we was going, and he asked me that off the random. And if you go back and listen to it, you'll find I had said, like, man, that's just my swag. That's just how I do it. I like wearing hats, try to make from the top to the bottom. So that was my little go-to answer. But now, man, I'm comfortable, man. I'm content to say that was a lie. And the truth is, man, I was so insecure about, man, my forehead. You know, I said, man, my head too big. I can't.
You wouldn't even known that, really.
Oh no, you would have known. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty obvious. You know what I'm saying? But now I love my head, man. You know what I'm saying? And my wife, most importantly, she loved everything about me. And I love her, man. But back then again, I was so insecure and I was caught up about what everybody think. I was like, man, so I gotta be right down to the T. And so whatever I had to do to cover that up, I would do it, man. We would leave the club, go to people's houses. I'm having a hat on. You know what I'm saying? We going wherever and wherever we go, man. I would have a hat. In places you shouldn't have a hat on, I make sure I had one on, man, because that's what I felt like I had to keep up. You know what I'm saying? So that was another insecurity.
Well, that's a blessing. So you mentioned you had a wife, which is awesome. And how long have you all been married?
3 years now.
3 years now. And how old are you?
23.
23.
Yeah.
So what was that? So to me, I feel like that could be somewhat countercultural to get married at such a young age. And you're telling me, you know, you had all the attention from the ladies and everything. Mm-hmm. What caused you to make that decision so soon in life?
Yeah, man. Well, first, I met my wife in middle school.
Okay.
And so it's funny because the way we met, I was sitting with my man. I said, look, the next person who walked in here, I bet I get her. He was like, I bet I get her. So we made our little bet. She was the next person who walked in. So I went at her, and then I talked to her after school. I said, look, let me get your number. She said, I don't give out my number, but you can give me yours. And it was something different about that answer. Now, back in middle school, I wasn't in the band, but, you know, I was still, it was still a level of popularity. Voted most popular, most likely to succeed, different things like that. So people knew me. And for her to tell me that was different. I'm used to, okay, here go my number, call me. And the fact that she wasn't sweating me, it would actually turn me on. I was like, all right, I'm gonna call you. Make sure you answer. I kept telling her that. Make sure you answer. And man, when things changed for me, man, when I transitioned from XIB to, man, I believe the Lord was calling me, man. I had a call in my life. She was right there by my side, man. She was one of the first people I called. And it's crazy because she was kind of doing her own thing. She was the one who really had me in trying to introduce me to really getting into the church for real, back in middle school, you know, because I wasn't really interested. But she was the first person I called. She was right there with me. And I just kind of lost a desire to keep chasing anybody. Because again, I started to come into knowledge of what true love is. And most people didn't really love me. It was just they accepted me. But she loved me because no matter what I did, no matter what happened, like she was always there for me. Man, I took her through a lot.
So let me go back a little bit. So to the XIV days and when you were the lead mic and everything. So with all the inauthenticity going on, with all the, you know, perpetrating and everything, what would you say was honestly your inspiration for continuing to go down that path?
Security.
Okay.
So I kind of put it in my mind that eventually this was going to work out for me. I didn't pretty much know nothing else that I could do. You know, nobody had ever really sat me down and say, look, this is your strengths, blah, blah. That's all I knew. That mic was all I had. So, in my mind at least. So, my inspiration was I'm getting older. You know what I'm saying? I knew people that was in bands that was kind of further along than us who I seen get, man, that this was their full-time job and was making more money in one night than people make throughout a whole week. I said, I can get that. You know what I mean? And the route we was going, it seemed like that's where we was headed. We got to a point where we was doing our own shows, throwing our own shows, headlining our own shows, and was packing them past capacity. You know what I mean? So that was my thing, security, man. I was scared that if I didn't continue, I'm like, what else am I going to do?
Okay.
You know?
So what brought all that to a halt?
Man, pretty much, in short, there was one, you know, it was one Sunday morning. I was at a low place, you know, in my life, and pretty much I said, man, I'm looking for some type of hope. Now, granted, I was looking for hope, but I wasn't looking for life change at all. And so it was crazy because, you know, some people know my story, man, that I had went on my computer, went on this website, and I typed in FBCG. Somebody had told me about that site, and I was trying to look at First Baptist Church of Glenard, but the computer junk wasn't working. And then I got my laptop. My dog had ate my laptop cord.
Did he?
And I had an old laptop to where it could only work with a cord. So sometime we go to my mother room. I went to my mother room and there was a laptop cord right there that I had never seen. Got it, and I went in my basement because I didn't want nobody to peek in the door and see me looking at any type of church, anything. So I went in the basement, and I ended up typing in a pastor that my wife had introduced me to back in middle school again. And I wanted to be down there for like 5 minutes. 5 turned into 10, 10 turned into an hour. I was down there for about 2 hours, man. And every single message was like speaking to me. And at that time, I'm thinking, how am I gonna give up sex? How am I gonna give up this and that? You know, what about what everybody gonna think? And it was like the messages was just hitting me. And I'm the type, I said, look, I didn't want to make that change if I wasn't gonna go all in. You know what I mean? So, man, I ended up on my face bawling, crying, man. Nobody home. I don't think I ever cried like that again in my life, man. And when I got up, you know, not trying to get all spooky, but I even felt like a changed man. A lot of my wants and desires had kind of changed. It was like an instant thing, man. And so at that point, I called the management, talked to the man, let them know. Many of them were supportive, you know what I mean? And it was hard for some of them to understand because we were so tight, and this was a sudden change. We was just about to release another CD. And it was tough, man, because I didn't know people in my circle, for real, who were trying to go this route, you know what I mean? And I was kind of on my own, but I just wake up daily. I had my Bible and my notebook and some music, and I'd just be writing whatever I thought it meant. And eventually, the Lord put people in my life, man, who wanted to live a life to please Him, man. And so I've been on this track ever since.
So let's talk about where you are now, Dreams in Reach. Tell us a little bit more about this vision. What is God speaking to you in regards to this?
Man, Dreams in Reach is an artist management company that started in January of 2014. Actually, right around my birthday, man, January 11th.
Okay.
And so I would say it started then because that's when the desire started kind of moving, and which led me to eventually begin praying about starting this. I was actually transitioning from a gospel go-go band that I had started when I left XIB Band, which was Wanted Band.
Okay.
And we were kind of transitioning, and I was, stuck kind of like, do I kind of chill? Do I go back into the music? And if I go back, how do I go back? As an artist, da-da-da. And I just didn't feel like it was my time or just at all that I was supposed to do any type of rap and anything. I felt like it was time to go ahead and take the back seat and basically use all the connections, man, the skills and different things that I've been blessed to learn along the way and help somebody else. And so that's how we came up with Dreams in Reach management. And so even with the name, pretty much what Dreams in Reach comes from, we pretty much see people as the dream. You know, John Maxwell says, man, that success is not a destination, it's a journey. And so while a lot of people look at, man, I'm successful when I get there, we just say, man, it's closer than you think. That's how we say it's closer than you think, because we see people daily, and that's why the dream is in reach, because long as we impact your life, we're doing what we want to do, man. So if we never make it to packing out arenas or shows, that doesn't determine our success. Our success is determined by, man, are we helping people, man? That's what it is, man.
That was exciting, definitely exciting. Where can we find out more information about Dreams in Reach?
Okay, good question, man. So right now we're in the process of launching. I can't give out the website info, but if you want to keep up with Dreams in Reach, what you can do is follow me on Instagram. I'm constantly giving you updates, and you'll find out when we're actually launching everything. My information will come up on the screen, but that's Showtime, the number 4 change, right there on Instagram. Showtime, the number 4 change.
And is there anything else you want to tell us before we?
I'll say this. Y'all be looking out for Echelon Knox, man. That's our first artist, man. New artist, man, from the city, man. Right here from DC, man. Great talent, great inspiration, but more importantly, man, he has a heart to serve the people and ultimately to serve God, man. So we look forward to working with him. His documentary coming soon, singles, and a lot of stuff, man. Other than that, to end it off, if I could encourage anybody else, man, young person, and you're not sure what you want to do in life, I want to encourage you that there's a reason that you put here on this earth. So please don't just settle, man. Please don't settle. Find out what you're here for and do it. And recognize that something I said earlier, man, that true encouragement may not always come from the arenas, but you might find the best encouragement in small circles. So don't expect it always to come from people everywhere. Find you some people who love you, who really support you, and do it, man.
Awesome. So there we have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.